I'm excited to have you here. It was so funny because I was like, all right, how do you say his last name? And I had to like find some videos and be like, oh, okay, it's Rosser.
That's right.
Very
Yep.
cool. Very cool. Well, for people that don't know, I am Dr. John DeWitt, and today on the Brain Builders podcast, we are talking with Travis Rosser, the amazing co-founder of Kajabi and author of the book, You Inc. And look at that, even though that's backwards, but you know.
Yep. It actually looked right on my side. So
Oh, did it look? Okay,
awesome.
well, there you
Yeah.
go.
Thank you. This is cool.
It's so awesome because I've been doing a lot of research lately because I just background on me. I played 12 years of pro football. I went to Vanderbilt. What else? I'm a doctor of chiropractic and got certified in concussion assessment. My dad's suffering with some dementia issues right now. And so it was important for me to figure out what I could do to help optimize brain function, not only to prevent Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that, but also if you've had concussions or if people just want to be superhuman and be able to get back to the brain they used to have and not think, oh, I'm just getting old, that's why I forgot that. Be like, no, you're not just getting old. If you're getting the right nutrients in there that Dave Asprey talks about all the time, then you can actually get back to the brain you're meant to have. And so I'm really excited about it. And I'm also really excited about your book because years ago, I was struggling as a chiropractor. It was like 10, 12 years ago, and needed to figure out a way to make money online. And I started listening to Pat Flynn's podcast.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, this guy's kind of cool. And he's talking about ebooks and stuff like that back then, and got into the office where I am now. And this guy had all kinds of information, so much information out there, but he wasn't really utilizing it. He didn't really know anything about online income, passive streams of income, anything like that. And he was doing he has a YouTube channel that he had monetized. And so basically I got in there and I was like, well, can I kind of see what I can do with this online stuff? And he was like, sure, whatever you want to do. It doesn't affect me at all. And so we took our YouTube channel from 2,000 subscribers to now there's over 500,000 subscribers.
Wow.
And I mean, it's just amazing and so exciting. Because, unfortunately, I'm not in control of that anymore. He's kind of handed that over to his son, which is fine. But it was really exciting because as a part of that process, I came across Kajabi because I wanted to figure out, and for those of you who don't know, Mr. Rosser here is the co-founder of Kajabi, like I already said, I believe. But anyway, it is amazing and such a really cool platform because the thing I love about the book is that everybody has some sort of business inside of them. They just need to acknowledge it and not think, oh, everybody, if I think of that, everybody else is probably thinking of that and I can't make any money from that, or it's not going to make it fun anymore if I, monetize that somehow. But you really go into all the different aspects of that in the book that are really great. And just a little more backstory from the book on you, not to do all the talking.
No, that's okay. This is great.
But
you're doing better than I would do.
Well, ironically, you talk about in the book how you used to stutter and how magically at the age of 19, suddenly just didn't stutter anymore, which is really impressive. But you ended up going to Azusa Pacific eventually.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And my niece actually is about to graduate from Azusa Pacific pretty soon.
Great school.
Plays volleyball there. She's about 6 feet tall. She's a beast.
Nice.
And not in a bad way. But she's really good. And then you also were a counselor at Hume Lake, and that's actually where you came up with the name Kajabi and reserved the domain name and all that before you really even knew what you were going to do with it.
Yeah, a long time ago. That if you Googled Kajabi, you would see people at Hume Lake playing the game Kajabi. So if you're listening to this, Google Kajabi game, and you'll see these kids playing this crazy, awesome, fun game. We've actually played it at Kajabi before at one of our Christmas parties, and it almost got violent, so we had to stop. It's a crazy game. It's so fun.
That is so.
But you're gonna get a concussion if you play it. I'm gonna warn you. It's dangerous.
It's not good. But the thing I really like though is when I did come across Kajabi, because I was trying to piece together all this and like, well, how do I integrate it with an email autoresponder or, all this other stuff, and how do you drip out the information and, doing video course and stuff. So we ended up setting up the arthritis reversal system, and that included 3 manuals basically and a series of videos that explained about the different causes of arthritis, what you could do about it, nutritional stuff, this and that and the other. And then also you could get a one-on-one consultation and that kind of stuff. And it blows me away at how easy it was because, and I take all the credit because I really sat down and tried to figure out how to use Kajabi as best as I could. And I would have people go on the site and be like, holy crap, who built your website? I'm like, oh, that was me.
Nice. That's right.
But it's so easy with Kajabi, and I haven't even used the newer updated version. This was with the old version. Nice. And it was cool too, because we see a whole bunch. We see probably 200 to 300 people a day at our office. And we get a lot of people that are in the movie business, come down from LA and stuff like that. And these Joy and what was Joy's husband name? Anyway, they were celebrity chefs, and they worked with the guy. Oh, I can't believe I can't remember his name now. He works with Marvel Comics, Jim Quick.
Oh yeah, of course.
And he was having a book launch at his house, and I believe it may have been for one of Brendan Burchard's books. And so I got invited up there for that grand opening or launch or whatever. Met all these neat people, and he's got like full-size statues of like the Hulk and Spider-Man all over his house.
Really I think cool. I was at that party. I think Brendan Burchard's like manifesto.
That was a few years ago. It was really cool. And awesome. The coolest thing, and the thing I loved about Brendan, is he actually came in, and I had seen him from all his self-help stuff and whatnot. And I mean, he is a guy that you meet him and he instantly acts like you guys are best friends and he's known you forever. And his ability to connect to people was just blown away. And I was like, oh, can I get a picture? He's like, oh, sure. And he's all super nice. And I know he's a huge fan of Kajabi.
Yes.
And anyway, so enough about me. Tell me a little bit more. I know I'm out of breath now. Tell me more about the book and why you decided you needed to write it and who it's for.
Yeah, well, thank you. That was a great introduction. I did research about you too, because I thought, man, is he inviting me on the show because he knows I have brain issues? Like, I listened to some of your episodes and I was like, oh man, this is totally me. And I talk about it in the book. I think some of the head injuries I had as a kid, I got kicked in the head by a horse. I had a jet ski accident that was pretty major and knocked out all these front teeth. Nice. Football, multiple concussions. Yeah. I got hit in the back of the head by a baseball bat when I was a bat boy as a little kid. Oh. And so I know in fact, I've actually been to Dr. Amon's office here in Costa Mesa, Newport Beach, and had my brain scanned.
Nice.
And it was a mess.
Oh, no, that's not nice.
So just listening to your stuff again, I want to go back and read Dave Asprey's book. And you got me like restarted thinking about that again, because I love trying to get my brain healthier. But my story is, like you said, I grew up in a small, tiny town, came down here for college, and I built this app called Kajabi that helps you share your information, sell knowledge. And since we've launched, this last time I checked, this was last year, Kajabi's made their customers $600 million. So over $500 million of revenue for just normal people with normal jobs, but with a unique talent that they share, or a solution, or gosh, there's so many stories. And so 2 years ago, I started interviewing customers, and I had these moments where we would be on Zoom just like this talking, and the stories would be so emotional or so amazing that we would both get goosebumps and we go, this is incredible. And during that time, I had my head down. I was just working. I didn't really notice what had happened. And then as I started to write this book, I realized this is a crazy story, like my story and then all of their stories, and how I need to tell as many people as possible that you have a gift inside of you. The things that have happened to you in your life may have happened to you for a reason. And if you're willing to accept that and embrace yourself at who you really are, who knows, there might be a whole new career right around the corner that you don't even realize is right there.
Yeah. And what I love about that too is, I know there was a lady that had really bad credit and took 3 years to fix her credit. And she actually turned a negative into a positive because people kept asking her how she did it.
Yeah.
She just explained it to them. And then what people don't understand is a lot of times people are like, you turn your hobby or what you really love doing into a job and it makes it work. But it's not true with Kajabi, because you can just turn it into a video course and you sit down, and take some commitment, and you have to get the information out there. But once it's done, it's done. And then that information is out there, and people will be happy to pay for it because it's good quality information, and you have shown them that it works.
Yeah. And you're not trading time for money anymore. Like a lot of times you think, I'm going to start a business. Well, that means I'm going to have to do this thing. I'm going to have to build this widget. I'm going to have to do this consulting or sell this house. This is about knowledge. It's about the knowledge economy. It's about knowledge being your greatest asset, and about you packaging that into a product and selling it. So you're making money. Like right now I can be making money from the courses I have, or when I go on vacation, or when I go watch my son play hockey. It's still going, especially if you build it correctly and you have like a really good funnel that just kind of takes people down the path of, wow, Travis is cool. I'm going to buy his book. Oh, cool. I'm going to take his course. Like, there's a certain path that I talk about in the book that it's a lot easier than people think, but it doesn't mean that it won't be hard to do it. Because the simplest things, I think, can be hard because of all the stories in our head that we tell ourselves. So,
yeah, and especially if you've had any kind of brain injury, if you got kicked by a horse or hit in the head with a bat, it's hard.
I got to figure out my brain. You know what happened one time, and this is how I know that good nutrition helps your brain. My wife had seen Real Housewives of Orange County, and they do that thing where they do like the banana bag after they've gotten too drunk at a party or whatever. And so my wife's like, let's go do an IV. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not hungover. What am I going to do? And the lady says, we have this thing called the brain booster, and it's all these nutritions, vitamins. Well, I did the brain booster, and about an hour afterwards, it was crazy. I was calm. I was focused. I was getting stuff done.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It was, and I've never been able to get back there. I've gone back to this place. I think my brain was so in need of the nutrients that when it hit it, it was like, oh, here you go.
And Dave talks about that. Dave Asprey talks about that in his book, Headstrong, because it's all about making sure, well, first you have to figure out what foods, how your brain and your body reacts to certain foods. Because a lot of the people have the leaky gut right now, and they're gluten sensitive and a bunch of other things. And he has an actual app on his phone where you can like check your heart rate, because if you eat something that you're allergic to, your heart rate's going to go up about 17 or 18 beats within an hour.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
That's a way to kind of check and see if you're allergic without having to like do any blood tests or anything like that. And paying attention, I noticed this too, because so I grew up in Arkansas, and I used to eat meat every single meal. And then I learned through Dr. Bredesen's book, The End of Alzheimer's, that being in mild ketosis is really, really great for your brain function, because you're getting healthier fats up to the brain. And that was something that was interesting to me. So I said, okay, I'm going to stop with all the meat, because he said you should only eat about 3 or 4 ounces of meat a day, which was a huge shift for me. And so I did that, and I started eating a lot of avocados and kale and healthy vegetables and things like that, and noticed if I ate that within an hour or two, I felt really energized and felt really good, like you're supposed to feel after you eat something. You're eating for fuel. But if you're eating, like recently I was bad and I decided I was going to make it. Back in college, I used to make this pasta that was, I would make the pasta and then I'd throw in all this Alfredo sauce and like shrimp and imitation crab and all this stuff, and we'd just keep a big pot of that in the fridge and eat on it, whenever I could. So I did that this last week just for fun, to see how it made me feel. Oh my God, it put me right to sleep. I'm just like, I can't handle it. And so you just need to be aware, if you need to be productive and you're wanting to start a business and you have ideas, you got to watch what you eat, because if you need to have a big productive day because you're like working on the weekends or something or late at night, you got to have that energy, or you're not going to be able to get anything done.
As an entrepreneur, energy is everything. It is your number one asset. You need to like nurture it. You need to optimize it. You need to figure out when do you work the best, whether it's morning or evening or whatever. And this kind of stuff is huge. I mean, this is really making me, I got to dig back into those books and make some changes. I'm like, yeah, I think I ate more than 3 ounces of meat a day.
But I couldn't believe it. I mean, I just did it just so I could prove that you can, because we sit and do nutritional consults all the time, and people are like, well, I eat meat all the time. I can't not eat meat. I'm like, well, if I cannot eat meat, I didn't eat meat for 6 weeks. And I was like, I didn't die, and I actually felt pretty good. So you might want to just give it a shot.
Definitely.
But that is, I'm trying to think of some other stories that were in the book that were so good. There was a painter that painted houses, and you would think, how are you going to turn that into a business? But he he just had an eye for color palettes and things like that. So he started finding a particular niche, and that's kind of the thing that people don't understand. They're like, well, what's a niche? I don't understand what a niche is. There aren't a whole lot of people that are going to care about that. But if you find just 100 people or 500 or 1,000 people that are really into that specific niche, and you can find them through advertising on Facebook and stuff like that, or if you're in groups, that's where okay, these people, these are the ones that I need to tell about this, and they're going to really appreciate it and run with it. And that guy did really well.
Yeah, the easiest way to understand a niche is it's a group of people that have the same interest in something, or the same problem, or the same thing they love. Some examples are my son plays ice hockey. In fact, in the next couple hours, I'm going to go to one of his practices. I'll be hanging out with all these hockey dads, and we talk about hockey, and we talk about kids hockey. And they're constantly being like, hey, have you guys tried this? Have you bought your son this training tool? Have you seen this video? And that's a niche. Being a hockey dad is a niche. And it's like there's all these little niches that have markets. And the one story you're telling is Remy Boudreau, and he's a painter that did house painting. And instead of teaching other people how to paint, he taught other painters how to do color matching. And that was like, it was genius. It was like that's a skill that, first of all, as a painter, you'd want to protect because you don't want to share it with people, because then all your competitors have your secret. That'd be the first stumbling block for most people. The next thing is most people wouldn't realize that that is an asset besides for their clients. So now Remy is killing it by teaching painters how to do colors, because we've all been there when we have to paint a room and we go to whatever Home Depot, Lowe's, or whatever you're near, and you see all the paint swatches and you're like, what, this goes with this? And then husband and wife, fight over it. Well, Remy basically created an entire course on doing that. Mm-hmm. So that's what this is all about, is taking that thing that you're good at, or the thing you love, or the difficult thing you've been through, and start to package it in a way that it helps other people. And we've been talking a lot about brain stuff, the stuff you've done, the stuff that the Bulletproof guy has done. He just took knowledge, what he learned from his own life and his own travels, and boom, he turned it into something valuable for other people.
Right. And that's the thing I like too. There were a couple of other stories in the book about like people. Well, for one thing, I am the worst at this, where I assume if I know how to do it, then it's not that big a deal.
Yes, of course.
And so many people are like that. And you have to realize that this was hilarious. The guy that didn't have a very good dating life, but then figured out using Tinder, whatever the different.
Yeah, it was one of the apps. Yeah.
Yeah, he figured out the best way to respond texting to these people in these apps to get more dates.
Yep.
And he was showing all his buddies how to do it, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Man, you should actually like turn this into a class or something." And if this guy's making money doing that, anything is possible.
Yeah, he calls himself the texting prince, and that's what it's all about. Is his buddies would be like, "Dude, what should I say? Should I say this?" And it happened so many times that he was giving pointers, and they're pushing him, dude, make a course, make this available. And he reluctantly did it. And now it's like, that's a total side hustle for him.
Well,
and I think there's things in our life, like here's how I break it down in the book. I do this thing called the 4 Ps. The first one is profession, and that's obvious, job, things you do, or systems, but it might even be software that you use at your job. Mm-hmm. The next one is passion. These are things that you love. It's like playing golf, surfing, mountain biking, hockey even. It's things that you tend to pay money for to do this. That's usually how you would define it. But you might find a little niche in there that would allow you to make money and do that for free, or get paid to do that. And then the last 2 are pain and problems. And I think a lot of us endure problems, or we overcome pain, or we fix pain. And we don't realize that now at this point, not that we're an expert, we have experience going through this, and we can start sharing that. Like, I know 5 years ago I got divorced, and so I know what that's like. I have empathy. I could share that with other dads that go through that. And it's about that. It's about, like you said earlier, the lady that had the credit problem, and she was also a single mom, and she fixed her credit first, and then she circled back around and helped other people. And that's what the book is about. It's about, what gifts have you used to help yourself, and now it's time to help other people.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, because that takes away the negative connotation when you feel like, oh, I don't want to take money from people. I mean, that makes me feel like I'm greedy or something. But it's the experiences that you, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on the experience that you go through, and being able to experience that and to share it with people. You have to realize that just because it happened to you, it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. And it's going to help people say, hey, this guy went through it. I know, like, and trust what he's saying to me, and whatever he offers, I like it. I'm gonna buy it.
Something too about getting paid for it. When someone pays you for it, they hold it at more value. Mm-hmm. Just like when you pay for a trainer, you're going to use the trainer because you paid money for that. It's the same thing. If someone shows you how to get out of debt, and like, do this and this, they check in with you in a couple of weeks, like, I didn't do it. But if you had to pay them $100 to go through that course, you would do it because you want to get the value. That's the first thing that's great about getting paid. The next thing is when you're getting paid and you're helping someone, you're going to get this new like passion and purpose feeling that's going to energize you, and it really turns it into something big. The last thing is when you get paid to help someone, you then can help people that couldn't afford it.
Right.
Like with the credit, my wife helps people with credit all the time, and she'll help, bigger clients that are entrepreneurs that have terrible credit, and she'll charge them, and then she'll help friends and college students for free because she can afford to do that. And that's kind of why you need to make sure you're profiting from it.
Right. And that fits right into our Brain Builders Masterclass that we do. I started that a few months ago and had a beta group of people. We had 75 people in the group that were like, I need to learn more about brain health and Alzheimer's and that kind of stuff. And the reason that you would do a beta group, which means it's a free group, is you find out what the questions are, what the sticking points are. What are they concerned about? Are they interested in nutrition? Are they not? Are they willing to do this? And we got so many great people in that group from other really popular websites, like apoe4.info is a website for people that have the genetic marker for Alzheimer's. And I got some of the creators of that website that were in the group, and they were it was so helpful having them in there explaining how to do things. And then also I got some cognitive assessments that only medical professionals can get. I gave access to 22 of the people in there wanted to do an assessment. So I got that in there, and we had the former Lakers sports psychologist is in there answering questions about behavioral psychology, because how the families are interacting with people that have Alzheimer's and dementia. And we've gotten a lot of other people from all the social media like LinkedIn and Facebook and stuff that said, I have experience in this. Can I be in the next one to offer more information? And that's why I'm super excited, because we're launching again on the 16th of November is when we're opening the next class and are starting the next class. And I'll put a link somewhere around here for people that want to register. But
that's really cool.
It's really cool because you're in a situation like that. And because I had all the concussions with football, and then my dad's got some stuff. His dad passed away from advanced Alzheimer's dementia.
And my grandfather did too.
Yeah. And it's just, when you've been through that, you just instantly have a connection with people that are going through that, because you know how frustrating it can be. Yep. It's like there's little glimpses of, he's there, and you're talking to him, then all of a sudden they're gone again, and you're just like, it's just so frustrating.
It's scary because I start to see it in my own mom, who's in her mid-70s now, and it's like, scary. I don't even know what to do. I try to get her to go get it looked at least, and she doesn't want to be diagnosed or anything. She doesn't want to know. Yeah, and that's a hard thing, is because the Alzheimer's and things like that starts decades before, and we just don't realize it. And then it's not the official diagnosis until you're in your 70s or 60s or 80s. Yeah. And if you would just be willing to make just some small nutritional changes, that could really slow down. And Dr. Bredesen's book even talks about how it stops and can reverse some of those cognitive effects. Yeah. And it's just crazy, because when you bring that up, I'm friends with the head of the Alzheimer's Association in Orange County, and mentioned it to him, and he was like, well, I don't know, there's not a whole lot of research. I'm like, well, that's because it's nutrition and there's no drug involved. If there's a drug involved, there's all kinds of research, but like the billions of dollars they spend on meds for Alzheimer's and brain dysfunction, only 2 drugs came out, and they're only vaguely dealing with like 1 or 2 symptoms. And Bredesen talks about how there's over 45, 50 different things that can all add up to cause this, and you have to address each of those. And it can be, Dave Asprey's really big on mold exposure, the mycotoxins you can get in your system from mold. Definitely. Or even talking about now, like the blood-brain barrier. If you have any infections in your sinuses, that can get up into your brain and cause problems. Wow. I mean, it's scary stuff. And so that's the kind of stuff we're going to talk about in the next Brain Builders Masterclass. But I just, I don't want to take up all of your time. I think this is a good example of you and I talking about something we both can relate to. And this is what the people listening to this need to do. Like, if you're like, okay, I'm really good at helping someone, pay the lowest taxes or whatever it is, go on Facebook and start talking to people about it. Like, help people first for free forever until you realize, ooh, here's something valuable. Because as you're talking to me, this is totally helping me in my situation, and I'm totally going to do some more research on my end. And that's what it's really about. That's why the book, it's not called Me Inc., it's called You Inc. Because if I focus on me, then I'm the victim and poor me, and what am I going to do? But when I focus on you, like you on the other side, John, or me, when I look at myself in the mirror, The first person you have to like have value is the person in the mirror. You have to realize who you are, your gifts, your talents, your struggles, your huge mistakes, and own them. And then you can share those with the other you, which is everybody else out in the world.
And that's the thing that I think is really important too. When you do make big mistakes or you do something stupid or whatever, instead of trying to go into the, oh, I don't want anybody to know that that happened to me, I'm embarrassed, be like, know that there's a lot of other people out there that have had that happen to them. And maybe you connecting with them and sharing and being open,
Yep.
That's going to help you really figure out, what you can do to help other people.
Yeah, I was just talking about that with a guy who does my social media about authenticity and how you're either authentic or you're not. You can't like practice being authentic. You can't like just be more authentic. I think you got to be more vulnerable. And it doesn't make any sense because especially with social media right now, everything is Instagram perfect. But you do need to be yourself and show your mistakes and show your struggles, because almost everything you're going to use in something like You Inc. is going to be based on your life experiences. And if you try to cover that up or candy coat that or make it too salesy, it's terrible. I remember I had this trainer that was helping me get in shape, and he was a great trainer. I'm like, he would tell me all these things. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. You should like do a live about that. And as soon as he turns on his camera, he turns into a used car salesman. I'm like, dude, no, just talk to me how you just talked to me a minute ago.
Yeah, I love the Sham Wow guy. Remember that Sham Wow infomercial? Yes. Where he's like, Sham Wow. And I'm like, oh my gosh, buy these and you get 10 free. I'm like, okay, that's great.
In fact, if you're listening to this, start practicing Facebook Live. Just talk about your topic, because it'll force you to realize the more natural you are, the better interaction you get. Because you can't come on like, hey, how's it going? I wrote this book. It's really cool. It's going to make you a millionaire.
Right.
That nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah, and that was one of the benefits too. That's why I really love the whole idea of the beta group, because I didn't really know what they wanted to know. And so I literally would have Dr. Bredesen's book and Dr. Amen's stuff, and I would just kind of like be reading passages out of the book to help explain, what labs to get and what to look for. And so I'm like looking down like this, and I'm like, oh, sorry, you're looking at the top of my head while I'm reading all this.
Yeah.
But then I would add in like PDF downloads, because it was all done in a Facebook Live group, private. Yeah. And so I would just add the files if they wanted to download them later. And so that was one of the questions I had. I was like, well, what would you recommend as far as, do I need to have more like PowerPoint slides, video stuff? Yeah. And they said, well, yeah, I think that would be good, but we'd like to see your face too. So a little bit of both. I was like, okay.
That is really cool. I think you're giving a good example of how to do it, because we try to make everything so perfect, but if you just go for it, like Diane in the book, she teaches about intermittent fasting for women of her age. And that's all she did was she went to research it herself, and she realized there was no information for someone in her age bracket as a woman that was an expert in intermittent fasting. So she started gathering everything from bodybuilders to models to nutritionists. And she's like, here's what I'm going to test. I'm going to try this out. I'm going to shoot, I think, a YouTube live every day. She invited people to come to this Facebook group. She even said, give me $20. If you quit or you don't like what you got, I'll give you your money back. And that's her first round of her first product.
Wow.
And that's all it takes, is just being willing to get a group of people around you. Because here's the thing, you're an expert if you're just a couple steps ahead of someone else.
Yeah.
Just by reading the book ahead of time. Like, I think of my two kids. I have a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old. And they're always playing whatever latest video game, whether it's Fortnite or, Destiny or whatever. And the older one will always figure out some advanced move. And then my younger one's, Kyle, how did you do that? And he comes down and he shows them. And like to him, to Connor, my younger one, Kyle's an expert. Yeah. And I think people discount the knowledge we have, where we really are experts in a lot of things. But we're like, it's no big deal. Everybody knows how, like you said earlier, everybody knows how to do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because I used to get really caught up in the whole, well, if I don't have these certain letters after my name, or I don't have like this certain certification, then people aren't going to listen to me. And I mean, that's why I went and got certified in concussion assessment, just so I could say, and some people want to hear that, but at the same time be like, well, I personally have had, at least half a dozen concussions and dealing with all this stuff. But nowadays, I mean, it really, like you said, if you just know a little bit more, I mean, nobody reads books anymore unless you're really financially well off. They're the ones that read the books. That's part of the reason they're so well off, is because they read a lot of books.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's just it's really fascinating that you can read these books. You can do them on Audible, listen to the book, whatever you want to do.
Yep.
And just getting more information in your brain instead of just kind of vegging out in front of the TV and not watching anything important that's not going to help you at all. I mean, yeah, you need to disconnect every now and then just to kind of relax, but most of the day you should be trying to better yourself, because that's going to make you so much better, more knowledgeable, and more valuable to other people just because of what you have in your brain.
Yep. What I do is every single morning I get up early and I have my notepad, which is with me actually right now. And I just get quiet for a while. And then I write down whatever's on my brain, whatever is like, oh, let's work on this, or you should be doing this. And I just get things out of my head. And this allows me to write down things I would have never thought of before. And I think if people would just slow down every once in a while, get quiet and realize, oh, I'm really good at, underwater basket weaving or welding. There was a guy in Kajabi that did welding.
Yeah.
And did extremely well.
Yeah.
Like there's like a trade that you'd be like, who cares about welding? People do care about welding. In fact, there's probably a whole new generation of this people that like to do stuff themselves. They'd be like, oh yeah, I'd love to learn that. Like, that's what I say too. Your 401k is worthless, but your knowledge as you come into retirement, like my own dad was a baseball coach for 35 years and he's an expert at teaching a young kid how to throw a curveball and a fastball. And I'm like, that's knowledge. He should be teaching that, but he doesn't really have a passion for that. But if you're older and you've been in this job forever, what did everybody come to you for? What were you always fixing? What did you always, know how to do? Like, it's time to start sharing that information.
Right. And that's the thing too. People that don't think there's a niche for what they do, like you say in the book, you go to not the library, but go to the bookstore and see what magazines are on the shelf.
Oh, exactly.
That way you can find out, okay, well, here's a whole dozen magazines on this particular topic, and look through the magazine and see what ads that are in there, and if like recurring, you can get back orders with back copies of that and stuff. But also online, you can go onto different websites. I think it's SEM Rush is one of them, where you go on that site, type in a website, and it'll show you, I think it's a paid version for this, but it'll show you the specific social media ads they're using, if they're doing them on Google or Facebook or whatever. And you can see how often they're running, and if there's any repetitive ads, those ads must be working.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, it's real easy to kind of figure out, okay, well, if they're doing that, I can kind of tweak it a little bit. You don't want to copy what they're doing, but you can kind of arrange your ad in the same, have a picture of a book here or a face here or whatever. And it really is kind of interesting how you can kind of hack some of these different things.
Yeah. I think too, every time you've had to solve something in your life can become one of these kind of businesses. My son and I both sons have been in Cub Scouts all growing up, but my younger son, 3 years ago, he won the Pinewood Derby, which is little wooden cars, that go down the ramp. And I was like, oh, we've won. I should tell everybody how I did it. And to learn how to do it, I was on Google nonstop, like, okay, fastest car, how to do the wheels, where should the weights go? And if you find yourself doing that around a topic and then you have really good results, or you feel really good when you're doing it, you should start sharing your version of that information. A lot of that information, nothing was new. You could still find the same thing by Googling. And there was a book at like Hobby Lobby you could buy that had a lot of great information. But let's say that was my thing. I could then shoot videos from my perspective and give my secrets and my tricks and hacks and systems I used. And that's what this is all about, is just putting your vision, your brand on this solution to this problem, or how to do this better.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how many people they won't take the time to go on Google or YouTube, because I guarantee you, whatever they have a question about, I mean, they have hundreds of videos on YouTube on how to clip your toenails. I'm like, really? And so just take a little bit of effort and look it up. And I mean, and if you already have an itch you like, then go and see what other people are talking about, like you're saying, and then maybe you can kind of put something together that helps.
Did you know that used to be a thing when we would hire people at Kajabi? We would say, what do you do if you don't know how to do something? And if they didn't say I go to YouTube or Google, that was a bad sign. Because that means they're like, well, what are you going to, they're just going to stop or just not work on it. Some of them had weird ideas of how they would do it.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy. I actually, during the whole process of trying to figure out how to set up the Kajabi site and how to like do all this stuff. And I was taking Udemy courses on how to code and like teaching myself how to do like computer coding and all this. And I'm like, now I'm like, why did I learn how to do all that? I'm like, well, I don't know. I guess it's good. It's in there somewhere. I've got it all stored up. But it's just crazy. And I got so frustrated because I went onto YouTube recently, and since I was in there doing a bunch of YouTube stuff, they've changed their whole layout and everything's different. So then you got to teach yourself all over again. And I'm like, all right, but there's a million YouTube channels and videos out there to show you how to do it. It's just,
Yep.
you know, and I think that's important. There was a thing about entrepreneurship earlier. I think it was on Instagram that it said, oh, you're working really hard and you don't have time to work on your job. Well, if you're working a 40-hour work week and you're sleeping from this time to this time, which was a normal time, if you worked from, I think it was 7 at night until 2 in the morning or something like that, that was an extra 30 hours a week.
Yeah.
Work on your business. Yeah, you might be a little tired, but if you just do that for a year or two, you're going to be way ahead of everybody else.
Well, and I talk about this in the book about finding that thing that gives you the passion and energy to stay up that late.
Yeah.
Because if you're working on something you hate and you're just doing it for the money, you're going to get burnt out.
Yep.
I mean, building Kajabi, that's how we did it. I had a full-time job. I would come home, have dinner with my kids, and 6 or 7, I would in my home office. I would then go back to work and sometimes work all night. Both Kenny and I, to get it ready to launch. And I kept my full-time job for months into building Kajabi.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's no excuses. You have time. You have at least an hour a day, or at least 6 to 8 hours on the weekend in between things where you could really do this. So
yeah, and it's really funny too, because I have patients ask me all the time. They're like, "How was your weekend?" And I was like, "Oh, it's typical weekend, working on 500 other things."
Yeah.
But I mean, and that's cool too, because there's a lot of coaches out there that'll kind of help you rein it in and understand. And they have a lot of this on Kajabi too, explaining on how to put it together and how to offer it. I worked with Aaron Fletcher, who's down in San Diego. He has something called the Fletcher method, and it uses different funnels and like how to get people into your little funnel or that are interested to get their email address and do it that way. And I'm hearing now that email is one of the least popular ways, and they're trying to build people through text messaging and things like that. And I've actually encountered some really great stuff through Dr. Berg when I was learning about brain health. He's really big on ketogenic diet and that kind of stuff. So I went in on his Facebook page because I was Googling, going on his website and be like, okay, what does his website look like and this kind of stuff. And you opt in. I thought it was a messenger bot at first because I said something in Facebook Messenger, and I was like, oh, you got a pretty cool bot set up. And he's like, oh no, this isn't a bot, this is me. And I'm like, okay. And I took a quiz to see how much I knew about ketosis. And then ever since then, like every few days, I'll get another message in Facebook, him saying, hey, you want to do my certification program? You want to get my book? You want to learn more about this? I thought that was kind of a unique way and approach. And I know a lot of people are doing that now.
Yeah, there's a lot of good services out there. I don't really have a good one to recommend, but I've tried a bunch of them where you can actually capture text just like you used to capture emails. Yeah. And you can use this as a strategy where you can really set it up like it is you talking, even though there's a lot of automation to it. I mean, I totally agree with that. If you can capture cell phone, you're way better off for sure. And then I still believe in Facebook just because of the connection you can get with people. Unfortunately, you're not always able to show up to everybody that follows you, but you can produce really simple content and you can, it still works.
Right. And I don't remember if it was you or somewhere else I read that Facebook is good for a certain age group. It's a little older age group. And then if you want younger, that's Instagram, Snapchat, and stuff like that. Yeah,
for sure. Instagram all the way. In fact, if I'm going to pick platforms, I'm only going to use Instagram and Facebook. And then obviously YouTube. You need to be producing content on YouTube. Yeah. Everything else is a waste.
Companies like Hootsuite and things like that, where it'll post it on all those social media, whatever you pick. Yeah. So you only have to do it once, and you don't have to go through and like adding it to each individual one. So that helps a lot too.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, anything else you'd like to add in closing?
No, I mean, check out my book. I know that if you give it a chance, I appreciate all the props you've given me on the show. I could tell you read it, and I appreciate that. It has the power to change your life, really, because I was on the journey of being stuck in a cubicle and working and making good money, but really like wishing there was more. And that's what eventually led me to building Kajabi. And then I heard thousands of stories of real people that took their knowledge and changed their life. And now it's all in. Oh, shoot. Hold on. I got like my phone was in my ear. You probably don't hear that, but it's like, the phone starts ringing. But I mean, you guys could actually do this. There's a business inside of you. That's why it's called You Inc. That I believe in that 100%. It's like my mission in life is to help people find those businesses.
Yeah. And it's really great the way it's written. It's only 179 pages, guys.
Yep.
I mean, it's
Simple.
maybe 2-3 days,
Mm-hmm.
no problem. And I love the way it's broken just because I'm simple. It's broken into like short paragraphs. It's not, so it makes it more entertaining. A lot of good stories. And you'll relate to at least one of them in there, I guarantee you.
Yeah, there's 20 real stories of real people, and I like books really simple too. So I had to make sure I wouldn't get bored reading it.
Yeah,
So it's real quick, real simple.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This is Dr. John DeWitt. This has been the Brain Builders podcast, and I'm also doing it on the Daily Dose. So hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much, Travis, for being with us and sharing all that great knowledge.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet. Where do I go?
All right, cool.
Awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Are you in Southern California?
Yeah, I'm up in Huntington Beach.
Okay, because I'm actually in Costa Mesa right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we have an office in WeWork for right now, my wife and I. So we're right next to South Coast.
Okay.
Yep. Cool.
Very awesome.
I didn't know you were so close.
Yeah, I'm right here.
All right. Well, thank you for everything. I'm going to go do some research on your stuff, and I need to get Dave's book, his brain book, because
it's awesome.
Very good.
Very cool. Awesome.
All right, John. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. You bet.
All right, man. See ya.
Bye.